Hey guys, it's Tuesday night, so that means we're talking about A Course in Miracles. Here's the answer to your search for peace. Here's the key to meaning in a world that seems to make no sense. Here is the way to safety in an apparent dangers that appear to threaten you at every turn and bring uncertainty to all your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace. Here are all the questions answered. Here, the end of all uncertainty, ensured at last. From lesson 121 of A Course in Miracles, called Forgiveness is the Key to Happiness. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to be talking about forgiveness tonight, according to A Course in Miracles. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Before we get into it, I want to say, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, my name is Derek. I'm a life coach and spiritual counselor here in Scottsdale, Arizona. You can get more information about me at my website, DerekRaymondMarmon.com, if you're looking for a little extra help sorting out your life at the end of this conversation. So tonight we are talking about forgiveness. I'm going to read to you from lesson 121 from A Course in Miracles. The unforgiving mind is full of fear and offers love no room to be itself, no place where it can spread its wings in peace and soar above the turmoil of the world. The unforgiving mind is sad without the hope of respite and release from pain. It suffers and abides in misery, peering about in darkness, seeing not, yet certain of the danger lurking there. The unforgiving mind is torn with doubt, confused about itself and all it sees, afraid and angry, weak and blustering, afraid to go ahead, afraid to stay, afraid to waken or to go to sleep, afraid of every sound, yet more afraid of stillness, terrified of darkness, yet more terrified of the approach of light. What can the unforgiving mind perceive but its damnation? What can it behold except the proof that all its sins are real? The unforgiving mind sees no mistakes but only sins. It looks upon the world with sightless eyes and shrieks as it beholds its own projections, rising to attack its miserable parody of life. It wants to live, yet wishes it were dead. It wants forgiveness, yet it sees no hope. It wants escape, yet can conceive of none, because it sees the sinful everywhere. The unforgiving mind is in despair, without the prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair. Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible, and does not see it has condemned itself to this despair. It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bears witness that its judgment is correct. It does not ask because it thinks it knows. It does not question, certain it is right. Forgiveness is acquired. It is not inherent in the mind, which cannot sin, as sin is an idea you taught yourself. Forgiveness must be learned by you as well, but from a teacher other than yourself, who represents the other self in you, capital S. Through him, you learn how to forgive the self you think you made and let it disappear. Thus, you return your mind as one to him who is yourself and who can never sin. Each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity to teach your own how to forgive itself. Each one awaits release from hell through you and turns to you imploringly for heaven here and now. It has no hope, but you become its hope. And as its hope, you do become your own. The unforgiving mind must learn through your forgiveness that it has been saved from hell. And as you teach salvation, you will learn. Yet all your teaching and your learning will not be of you, but of the teacher who was given to you to show the way to you. I absolutely love this lesson in A Course in Miracles. Let's talk about A Course in Miracles real quick before we get back to the topic tonight of forgiveness being the key to happiness. Now, A Course in Miracles obviously is written in Christian terminology, but as you were listening to that, you could probably pick up on the Buddhist feel of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles teaches us that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The goal of A Course in Miracles and the goal of any true spiritual path is peace of mind. That's what enlightenment is. That's what awakening is. That's what the whole purpose of our spiritual lives is, to be returned to that peace which is normal and natural and inherent within us. Hey, Patrick. And so forgiveness being the key to happiness. So The goal of A Course in Miracles is to teach us peace. It does this through, it has a textbook that's several hundred pages long, teaching you its philosophy. It's not a doctrine, it's not a dogma. It's not trying to get you to believe in God, it's trying to get us to believe in each other. And it does this by trying to get us to wrap our minds around the fact that the world we see around us is an illusion. A lot like in Buddhism, they call it Maya. It is not actually happening, it is not actually real, it is a very serious mental hallucination by the sons of God. The sons of God being all of us, me, you, everyone who ever lived and everyone who ever will live. Being the sons of God, we live in this world in which we have forgotten who we are. And because we have forgotten who we are, deep, deep, deep down, we truly feel guilty having forgotten who we are. I was thinking about this a lot, especially today, but the past few days. And it kind of reminded me of before I realized I was gay and came out, I felt a lot of guilt about it. I felt a lot of guilt and shame, not just about the idea of being gay, but I felt a lot of guilt and shame because I wasn't living as my authentic and true self. Then when I came out, sometime later, I realized that it wasn't even being gay that was the situation, that still, the way I was living my life, the thoughts I was having, the interactions I was having, the things I was saying, the things I was doing were so rooted in someone who I was not in truth. That person that you are not in truth is your ego. Your ego is the confused part of the mind that thinks that it is separate from God. That's what it really comes down to. A Course in Miracles tells me that me and you have no business really even looking for a solution in our life because we don't even know what the problem is. The problem is that we think that we are separate from God. And because we think that we are separate from God, we think we are also separate from ourselves and we are also separate from each other. When we are separate from each other and when we perceive ourselves in that separateness, we can't help but feel feelings of inadequacy. We can't help but feel fear and feelings of the ego, which tend to be feelings of jealousy, competitiveness, anger, rage, all those emotions that are not peace. And so because you and I are walking around believing this sense of, believing that on some level, that because we are separate from God and separate from others, and that the thing about being separate from God and being separate from others is that when you think you are separate from that which created you, you think you are separate from the gifts it has placed within you and the truth it has said about you. So by default, God has made us love, peace, compassion, joy, happiness. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. God has made us that way. It's not so much something he's trying to give us, but it's something that we naturally already are. But by default, when we choose to not believe that, and we choose to believe that we are separate from him who created us, then naturally we fall into feelings of fear and despair because we are denying the very truth of who we are. We are denying the fact that we are love, we are peace, we are joy, we are compassion, we are children of God. We are not the things, the false persona that we seem to have created. And this isn't just you individually, this is true of all of us. So there's the individual ego and collective ego. There's the individual karma and there's the collective karma. And so what you and I do is we walk around feeling this deep sense of, the lighting's a little off on my end, feeling this deep sense of guilt for denying who we really are, which translates in our life into a sense of inadequacy. And what happens is when we feel inadequate, what we'll do to try and make up for that, what the ego will have us do is the ego will say, hey, I'm feeling, and it doesn't say these exact words, but this is what happens. This is the process. The ego says basically something like, well, I'm feeling inadequate right now, so the way to not feel inadequate is to attack someone else. Because if I attack someone else and project my inadequacy onto them, the ego has convinced us that that will actually heal the problem, that will actually make us happy, that will actually get rid of that sense of inadequacy. So like, for example, let's say that your sense of inadequacy is around how much money you make. Maybe your sense of inadequacy is regarding your weight, the way you look, whatever it might be for you. You see someone else, something happens, it triggers this sense of inadequacy, this feeling of, oh, I'm too this, I'm too that. And then you see someone else, and the process of the ego is, oh, if I hand this off to this person, if I hand off my own self-hatred and my own guilt, if I look at someone, if I'm feeling that I am fat, and I look at another person and I say, well, I'm not, at least I'm not as fat as that person. That's one I used to do all the time. For a moment, it is going to seem that the ego is right and that you are going to feel better momentarily. But the truth is, by acting out this process of the ego, where the ego feels inadequate, searches for someone else to project onto our inadequacy, then attack that person, then we think that, oh, hey Clarissa, then we think that we're healing ourselves and we think that we're getting rid of this sense of inadequacy, when actually all we're doing is we are reinforcing our belief in separation from God. We are reinforcing this process of the ego that goes on and on and on and on. And this isn't something that's just happening with you and the people in your life every day. This whole problem of projection, this is what war is. This is what racism is. It's a group of people with a sense of inadequacy, and then projecting that on to other people over whom they have some kind of leverage, some kind of power, and projecting that onto them, and then it coming back. And then hatred just thriving in this environment where everyone is taking a sense of inadequacy and putting it onto other people. That's what war is. It is that projection. So we have quite a broad range of spectrum. This might just be, in your mind sometimes you think this about that person. Other times it's you speak this about that person. Other times it's you act this out with this person. And then collectively we have our collective karma where we're playing this out in worldly affairs. But forgiveness is the key to happiness. Your natural reaction, your true self, when you are in these situations, when you're feeling like you need to attack another person because you're feeling inadequate, you're feeling guilt, you're feeling fear, you're feeling whatever it is, somebody triggers some childhood wound, and then suddenly, next thing you know, you're attacking your lover, you're attacking your friend, you're attacking this person, whatever it is. Well, that's not who the real you is. The real you, the true you, who you often can't hear because it speaks quietly. The ego speaks loudest and it speaks first. And unless you're meditating and praying and living some type of a contemplative life, it's really hard to hear that voice. But in those moments of tension, in those moments of projection, of those moments of where I'm feeling inadequate and I'm trying to hand to you my inadequacy, your spirit is whispering, forgiveness is the key to happiness. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. But what exactly does that mean? So your natural response when you're interacting with another person, your true self wants to respond with love. Instead of projecting ego fears onto other people, it wants to do as God has created it. God has created us by extending himself into us, literally becoming us, becoming the love, the joy, the peace that's within us. And our natural true self, beneath the mask of the ego, wants to extend that love. That's why children are so kind, and that's why children are raised in the right environment, want to share, want to love, want to laugh, want to be joyous, because they haven't been taught this whole ego thought system yet. But what happens is so often we choose to project instead of extend. Now, when we extend, where we respond naturally with thoughts, words, and actions of love, to that degree that we're truly extending love, peace, and joy, forgiveness, we are creating miracles in our lives. The miracle first happens internally, and then there are external results. The miracle is the shift in perception from fear to love. When you make that shift, something changes within you. Now, you make that shift by realizing that you can't make that journey on your own, asking whatever that inner teacher is you believe in. Maybe for you it's Jesus, maybe for you it's Buddha. I use the word Holy Spirit. The Course in Miracles speaks of the Holy Spirit. Whatever it is, when you contact that inner teacher within you, you ask it to guide you, to help you shift from fear to love. Forgiveness in A Course in Miracles, it kind of defines it as selective memory. One of my favorite Britney Spears quotes, she says, the key to happiness is a bad memory. And the reason for that is because your true self does not keep tabs on everything your partner's done wrong, your parents done wrong, your country's done wrong. Your true self doesn't live and breathe and embody that type of energy. You know, and we're really talking about energy here when we're talking about A Course in Miracles. For example, there's a lesson in A Course in Miracles where it says, I need do nothing. It's not meant to be taken literally that I don't need to do anything, that I don't need to get up in the morning and go to work and have my responsibilities. It's telling us that the energy that we carry throughout us as we go through our day should be one of relaxation, of I need to do nothing. Because when we're in that relaxed state, then we're less prone to getting caught up in the ego. We're less likely to continue to participate in the projection of the ego and fear onto the world and back at ourselves. And when we live in that way, forgiveness kind of just becomes like the natural way that you live, breathe, and move and have your being in the world. Now, a lot of what I just said is not going to make sense in those moments where you're angry because someone has said or done something to upset you, whether this is a small upset, maybe it's a huge betrayal, whatever it might be. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. So how do we, let's talk about some real life examples. So I can tell you that the whole reason I even got into spirituality was because I was very aware that I had judgments about people in my life. There were people that I felt really, really wronged me, and I couldn't let go of it. And this was quite a spectrum of being wronged. I'm not so much talking about that person who cuts you off in traffic, but those things that really shape who you become from a child onto your teenage years and into your 20s. There are people whom we hold judgments against, and it's really important that we start to let go of that. I'm teaching a class right now called Chakras and Miracles, and this week we're focusing on the root chakra. The root chakra is really connected to your sense of safety and security in the world, whether or not you feel that the universe is a safe place for you to actually to exist in. And what happens and what the root chakra is all about is shifting your sense of security and working on that. Now, the way that you were raised and the way that you experienced life up until around the age of 5 typically defines whether or not you feel safe and secure later in life. I remember I didn't feel safe and secure around the age of 5, and at many different times in my life, there were moments where life was actually really good. I had a lot of money. I had a great relationship. I had this, I had that. I felt like I had everything I thought I needed to feel happy. But I wasn't, because I still had this blocked root chakra. And chakras are just limited ideas, attitudes, thoughts, and beliefs about safety and security. I walked through the universe not feeling safe and secure. The law of cause and effect tells us that as we think, we're going to get. So I walked around in a fearful mindset about safety and security in the world, and the law of cause and effect gave me back exactly what I was thinking, what I was speaking, what I was acting, that entire energy that I was carrying around with myself, even when there was no reason to even feel that way. And so when we talk about forgiveness, I think one of the most important places for anyone to start is to take a look at your parents, your caregivers, the people that were around you when you were very young, because they served as your idea, your models for men for women, for masculine energy, for feminine energy. They served as your model for what a father is, what a man is, what a mother is, what a woman is, what an elder is, what a teacher is, what a guide is, what a sibling is. They served all these different type of models for you. And these early models were given are often the same places that later in life are hurting us because we have judgments about these people. So when I got into spirituality, it's because I knew I had some forgiveness to work I needed to do for some people in my life. And I couldn't just forgive some of the things that had happened. You know, if you've gone through some intense situations, if you've gone through, I'm not going to go into details, but if you've gone through some really like rough stuff in your life, it's not always easy as simple as, well, forgiveness is the key to happiness, and that's that, and I'm happy and I've forgiven now. It's like so just like not even human, and not even, that's bypassing your emotions. So the first thing I did when I realized that I needed to do some forgiveness work with these people is I first started by realizing I didn't have all the information. When I realized I didn't have all the information about these people in my life, I was able to kind of take a step back. Now, what I mean by that is I didn't have all the information is I had started an inquiry into, well, what were their childhoods like? What were they taught about what a man is and what a woman is, or what a man isn't and a woman isn't? Like, what were their role models? What was their idea of what people are? And were they people who were even taught the things of love, peace, joy, forgiveness? Were these even people who were taught how to be there for another person, how to care for another person? And, after I realized that I really didn't have all the information, and then I went and got some more information, and the more information I got, the more compassion I was able to build and create for the people that I had been so upset with. And even after collecting more information, and I remember at one point, I called up my mom one day, and I was like, well, tell me, I started asking her questions. Tell me about your childhood. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. And I got that information, and I was able to construct in my mind, like, what her childhood must have been like, or what her situations was. And what that did was it gave for me this, like, space where I could step back and be like, wow, I've made a judgment based on such limited information about another person. So let's look at that again. I've made a judgment about another person without all the information. Because the thing is, hurt people hurt people. I've yet to find a situation where somebody who is in pain wasn't hurt by someone else who was in pain. A Course in Miracles disagrees with a lot of spirituality and religious paths in one very key area, and that is that A Course in Miracles does not say that God created the world. It says that man's ego created this world. That's why it's corrupt. That's why it's evil. That's why there's attack thoughts. That's why there's destruction. That's why there's racism. And that's why there's war. I overheard someone say recently, we look at God and say, why do you let children starve? And God looks at us and says, why are you letting those children starve? So if, depending on like what your situation is and what kind of, situation you're trying to forgive, I think the first two things is you realize you don't have all the information. The second thing is you realize you go out there and you try to get more information, and then you realize that no matter how much information you get about the situation, about the person, you will never have enough to really know. And so you just start with whoever this person is you might be angry with by realizing you don't know everything about the situation. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with a family member, and they said something that kind of like triggered this place in me where I'm very upset with them. And I was really upset. For probably a few hours. It kept coming up in my mind, and I'm just like, I can't believe they would say that. I can't believe that's what they think. Can't believe that's what they think that's okay. And then I stepped back and I was like, okay, wow, like this is not about me. This is absolutely not about me. And what we do in these situations where we can't just go into forgiveness is the key to happiness, is we can allow forgiveness is the key to happiness, that mantra, to guide us into forgiveness. Now keep in mind, forgiveness is never condoning what happened. Forgiveness is not, well, you know what? I forgive you. It's okay for you to walk all over me. It's okay for you to do these hurtful things to me. Because the thing is, if a person's in a situation where they are hurting you, they are by default also hurting themselves. And it is not a good place for the two of you to be where that kind of pain and suffering is happening on both ends. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. We allow that mantra to guide us. We allow ourselves to turn within, to close our eyes, and begin to search for a different way of seeing the situation. Because if we can see the situation differently, then we can get to our peace. Now, it's not always easy, and what I find very often that I personally have to do is pause in the middle of the upset, turn within, and say something just simple like, dear God, dear higher self, dear inner being, whatever your words are, I'm really upset right now, and I don't want to be, and I want to be at peace. I'm having a really hard time being at peace with this person, with this situation. Please help me. What I find happens for me is that in that moment when I say that prayer, I kind of relax and I kind of like let the situation go for a moment maybe. But then what happens is that maybe a couple hours later, a couple days later, depending on how resistant I am to forgiveness on this, whoever this person is, something will happen. They'll call me and they'll say, hey, Derek, I said this and I realized that was upsetting and disrespectful. I wanted to apologize to you. Or half the time what happens is I just stop caring. Now, that doesn't mean I go have dinner with the person. That doesn't necessarily mean I continue a relationship with the person. It is the ego that wants you to think that forgiveness is condoning the evil things that other people have done and said to you, and just being okay with that, and then will further let you be a doormat. That is not spirituality. That is the ego's hands immersed in the conversation about forgiveness where it does not belong. Now, the situation I had today was like kind of a small upset. Now, of course, Miracles tells us that there is no such thing as small upsets, that they're all equally disturbing to our peace of mind. But it was kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum for areas of forgiveness that I've had to work on personally. I know I had an ex who it took me a long time to forgive. A long time to forgive. It's the reason I got into A Course in Miracles, because I just had this emotional disturbance about this 2-year relationship. It was very, all kinds of, I don't want to go into detail about it, but it was awful. It was really awful. And to get to peace wasn't as simple as one prayer. There was a time where getting to peace was, I said a prayer every day. And then at some point, I just stopped caring about what had happened, and I really was able to just set it down. The great thing about when you begin to set down you start to do this forgiveness work, is that it's like you carry around a bag full of rocks and bricks, and you're carrying around this bag of bricks, and it's all the people you need to forgive, but you're the one holding on to it. You're the one being weighed down by it. But when you really start to do this forgiveness work, you suddenly one day you just get to, maybe you get to throw out one brick, but maybe the next day you get to set down the whole bag. And sitting down that whole bag and sitting down all those bricks, letting go of the thoughts, the attitudes, the emotions, the feelings, the places in the body that are traumatized, and holding on to the grief, the anxiety, the trauma, like whatever it was, the pain, the suffering, the betrayal. You just breathe, you just relax. And I know this because personally, this has really been an important part of the work that I've done on myself. just in letting go of these things. And this isn't just something simple. We don't just say one mantra and everything's changed. Forgiveness is not one simple act. It is a process. And to the degree you are resistant to forgiveness, it will be a process for you, and a longer process to the degree that you are resisting this. So I want to do a little exercise with you before we hop off today. So as we're talking about forgiveness, if you're listening to this and I've said some things that made you think of someone, we're going to do like a 2-minute little exercise to help you to begin to forgive that person. So what I want you to do, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath. Take another nice deep breath. And another. Now, thinking of someone you do not like, who seems to irritate you, or to cause regret in you, if you should meet him, one you actively despise or merely try to overlook. It does not matter what the form your anger takes. You probably have chosen him already. That person will do. Now, with your eyes closed, I want you to see this person in your mind and look at them for a while. Try to see some light in this person somewhere. A little gleam which you had never noticed. Try to find some little spark of brightness shining through the ugly picture that you hold of him. Look at this picture till you see a light somewhere within it, and then try to let this light extend until it covers him and makes this picture beautiful and good. Look at this changed perception for a while and turn your mind to one you call a friend. Try to transfer the light you learned to see around your former enemy to him. Perceive him now as more than friend to you. For in that light his holiness shows you your Savior, saved and saving, healed and whole. Then let him offer you the light you see in him, and let your enemy and friend unite in blessing with you, with what you gave. Now you are one with them, and they with you. Now you have been forgiven by yourself. Do not forget throughout the day the role forgiveness plays in bringing happiness to every unforgiving mind, with yours among them. Every hour tell yourself, forgiveness is the key to happiness. I will awaken from the dream that I am mortal, fallible, and full of sin, and know that I am the perfect Son of God. A Course in Miracles tells us that Jesus didn't have anything that we don't have. He just didn't have anything else. He had the love, the peace, the joy, the compassion, the kindness, the wisdom, the beauty, the strength that is inherent within the Son of God. But he didn't have that judgment. He didn't have grievances. He didn't have attack thoughts. He lived, breathed, had his being in that energetic space where all is well, and there is no separation between us and God, and there is no separation between us and each other. If after listening to tonight's talk, if you feel that you have continued forgiveness work that you need to do, there's some areas of forgiveness, some people, maybe yourself, that you feel resistant to and would like to explore some coaching and counseling, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me a direct message here on Facebook. You can go to my website, DerekRaymondMarmon.com, and you can get more information about me there and request a free 30-minute complimentary session where we talk to each other about what's up for you, what's going on, what you want to work on. I talk to you about how I can help you, and then we decide if it's a good fit. Again, that's DerekRaymondMarmon.com. Also, if you did not sign up for my Chakras and Miracles class, I'm still letting people join up until this evening. I'm going to drop a link in this video where you can click and go sign up for this class. It's a 7-week program where we are exploring the 7 chakras, and we're using this as a roadmap to peace, love, abundance, and joy by applying A Course in Miracles principles to these energetic places in our body where we tend to hold limiting, judgmental thoughts, words, attitudes, and beliefs. I appreciate you showing up tonight. I will be back next Tuesday at 7. I will see you then. Much love.